Hello everybody and welcome back. So we have a lot of news to go over in today's fourth stimulus check update. I just want you to know that the next round of payments will be sent out to eligible Americans very soon. And some Democrats, specifically Representative Ilhan Omar, are now urging President Biden, Kamala Harris, and the entire administration to pass another stimulus bill. So yes everybody, we can all be excited for a fourth stimulus check. More and more Democrats are realizing that American people are in need of financial assistance still. So let's hope that President Biden does his job and sends out the fourth stimulus check. If you guys think he will, then leave me your thoughts in the comments below.
Absolutely worst possible thing we could be doing in our country right now. Playing Russian roulette with this economic recovery, which has already been threatened by this raging inflation created by the rescue package earlier this year. These taxes are going to hit the country really hard.
So folks, the next child tax credit payment is about a couple weeks away. And I want you to know that parents can expect it on August 15th. Qualifying families with children under age 6 will receive $300 per dependent each month. Families with children who are 6 to 17 years old will receive $250 monthly, and the remaining half of the credit will come with tax refunds, bringing the total to $3,600 per child for families with children under 6 and $3,000 for families with older dependents. It is an increase from the previous credit of $2,000 per child.
Partisan infrastructure bill. Since the legislative text of the bill was finalized, the Senate has considered 8 amendments. 5 amendments were led by senators from the Republican minority. 7 amendments have received roll call votes. 1 amendment, offered by the uncommon pairing of Senators Warnock and Cruz, was adopted yesterday by voice vote. Miracles happen even here in the Senate, Mr. President.
And while the next payment is the second of 6 payments coming, Americans are waiting to know if the stimulus checks will become a permanent thing. Lawmakers have recently proposed legislation that would hand over recurring stimulus checks or guaranteed income, with monthly payments of up to $1,200 for adults and $600 for children. The two bills, by the way, are a guaranteed income bill and an alternative economic metric bill, which were recently introduced by progressive Democratic lawmakers. But everybody, Representative Ilhan Omar has said on Twitter that it's time to prioritize new economic indicators and economic policies that will prioritize sustainable and equitable growth. Today, Representative Ilhan Omar introduced 2 bills, a guaranteed income bill and a bill to establish an alternative economic metric. So yes everybody, this is a fourth stimulus check. But still, White House officials disputed the idea that the inclusion of the pilot program in the infrastructure bill guarantees the establishment of a future. One White House official actually said, "There's literally nothing in the bill that is counter to the president's pledge." This refers to 2 provisions about research. One gives grants to states if they want to apply to do their own research. The second involves the federal pilot program based on individual volunteers who receive full refunds. Now I know a lot of you guys are seeing massive increases in your expenses, like food, groceries, and even gas. So here's what Jen Psaki said about this. She said that the president is quite focused on ensuring that we are doing everything we can to keep prices low, to keep the cost of living low for the American people, including the cost of gas. And that's why he was against the gas tax. In the stimulus relief bill, states were allotted over $200 billion to spend towards their economic recovery from the crisis. Now states have until the end of this year to give the money out, and governors have already begun doing so. Many people in many states are receiving stimulus checks from their governors. Certain residents of the following states might be eligible for stimulus money. California is one, for example. California is currently the only state to have sent out any type of stimulus check with its own money. California has a state budget surplus, largely due to its tax system. So everybody, if you live in the state of California, expect to receive a state stimulus check.
Money. Well, if you're trying to get by on $13,000, $14,000 a year, you're probably buying prescription drugs because you're old and maybe you're ill. You are trying to buy food. You're trying to buy healthcare. That's what you're doing. Those costs are going up a lot faster than if you're 20 years old and you're trying to buy some computer where prices actually may be going down. So seniors need their own system to determine what their inflation is, and in general, that will be a higher level than the general population because healthcare costs are going up faster.
Yes, well, this is so exciting. It's one of the bills that I introduced to the last session along with then Senator Kamala Harris. And it really is about 2.5 million domestic workers who do all the work that makes all other work possible and yet are amongst the lowest paid with no protections. And the thing I think a lot of Americans don't know is that domestic workers and farm workers actually were both categories of workers that were left out of all of the New Deal labor protections, labor laws. And so there are no real standards governing the work and the conditions for domestic workers. And that is simply unacceptable. Certainly, we knew they were important before the pandemic. Now it's even more important that we make sure that these 2.5 million domestic workers, largely women of color, including immigrant women, are taken care of. And that's what the National Domestic Workers Bill of Rights does. And I think it is so exciting to see over 100 of my colleagues as co-sponsors on the bill at introduction. And of course, the vice president and the president saying that they support the bill.
Reckless tax and spending spree is going to start next week. We've already spent $6 trillion in coronavirus relief, and now they're talking about $3.5 to $5 trillion more of big government spending. It is time for the American people to stand up and speak out and say, we've had enough, it is time to stop, because the American people realize every one of them is in one way or another going to pay for this. They're suffering right now. Their paychecks are getting eaten away by inflation. $25 more a week every time you fill up with gas, $25 more a week when you go to the grocery store. So it's $50 less a week that you have to spend for other things just to buy the same amount of groceries and the same amount of gas that you were at the time that Joe Biden became president. We're talking about thousands of dollars a year eaten away from Americans' paychecks. And it's not just the inflation component. The amount of money they're talking about spending, the only way they can do that is significantly raising taxes. It's not just going to be on a couple of rich people or a couple of big companies. The amount of spending is so dramatic that everybody will be paying in one way or another. People are going to get hit in their savings, in their investments, in their retirement accounts. That is what's going to happen to each and every one of the folks in America who see what the Democrats are trying to do here. And the Democrats have been very upfront about the fact they are ready to supersize the IRS to go after all of the taxpayers in America to make sure they get every last dime from them. It's time for the American people to stand up, speak out, and say enough is enough.